These substances are spreading their influence across the entire world, taking lives under the false pretense that they provide superhuman benefits with none of the downsides. From women being hospitalized for taking peptides at an anti-aging convention, to clinics in the US reporting severe bodily side effects from peptide use due to allergic reactions. The situation is getting out of control. You guys have probably seen a lot of people on social media praising peptides beyond belief, claiming that peptides can help you recover faster, lose fat faster, and get steroid-like results in the gym without any of the side effects. It seems that every day now I come across a few new videos where somebody is glorifying peptides like BPC 157, TB 500, or CJC 1295 like they are near perfect health-promoting substances which everyone should be taking. But the truth is, unfortunately, a lot worse than social media makes it out to be. But first of all, what even is a peptide? Well, they're short-chain amino acids which can act like signals to certain cells within the human body. Your body actually makes a lot of peptides on its own, which serve specific purposes and have essential functions to keep us alive. In fact, insulin is a peptide hormone which helps us regulate blood sugar and use glucose for fuel. So it's not like peptides that we have inside of the human body are dangerous to us. The real danger comes when people start consuming synthetic exogenous peptides which they have purchased online. In recent times, peptides have been trending like crazy on social media, especially amongst young adults and teenagers for their supposedly magic-like effects on the human body. Do you have an injury that you're stuck with? There's a peptide for that. Are you experiencing hair loss? There's a peptide for that. Are you stuck on TikTok watching autistic guys go crazy over seeing penguins? There's a peptide for that. Jokes aside, a lot of people claim to have had great experiences with a lot of different peptides. Everything from healing injuries, to fat loss, to providing you with passive income, because a lot of companies who sell this stuff reach out to affiliates to promote their products. Heck, even Sam Sulek was a victim to this.
Hello.
Take BPC 157 for example, which is arguably one of the most famous ones. It has self-reported benefits like helping heal from injuries, and there has actually been animal studies showing that it can increase the speed of healing certain injuries through tissues like tendons, ligaments, muscle, and even bone. And there probably are clinical studies on humans being planned as we speak. But for now,
There's nothing.
Which brings me to the point that many often mention regarding why these peptides are such a bad idea. We have no real way of knowing whether or not they are safe to use and at what dosages. The reason why BPC 157 isn't FDA approved is simply because we don't know whether or not it's safe. There could be detrimental long-term side effects which we don't know of, primarily because we haven't gotten there yet. And it wouldn't be very smart to rely on teenagers on TikTok who proclaim that taking BPC 157 heal their injuries if these reports are purely anecdotal and not controlled whatsoever. This doesn't mean that these peptides don't work, but would you in good faith be able to accept a drug because some guy in the locker room told you that it fixed him without knowing anything else about it, what dose is safe, in what time frame, or if his injuries were fixed because he also started doing proper injury rehabilitation at the same time that he took those drugs? This becomes a matter of anecdotes, and from a scientific perspective, that is the lowest quality form of evidence. It's basically the equivalent to trust me bro, which can have a lot of unknown biases. You are not controlling for anything and you can't know what actually worked. But unfortunately, the use of peptides doesn't stop there. Teenagers on TikTok are now trying to give medical advice using these substances, basically practicing medicine without a license and doing so with untested, non-human approved drugs which they know almost nothing about. And when these teenagers take peptides like BPC 157 or TB 500 or ipamorelin and report notable positive effects, that leads to an insane level of sampling bias, because you are not going to hear about the guy who got side effects after 3 weeks and then quit. Those people are not going to post about their usage, but you will probably hear from the guy who finally got better in his shoulder after running BPC for 3 months. However, is it all that bad? Aren't these types of anecdotes what might now lead to new discoveries and actual research on these peptides? Well, yeah, in one way it's very good to get the eyes on peptides like BPC 157 and TB 500, because that means there is going to be more funding and more incentive to research them in a proper clinical setting where we can actually control for what effects they might have on the human body, both positive and negative. What is really bad though is that these people are self-prescribing research chemicals without a good idea of how they work, what side effects they may have, and often take them to substitute poor habits and life choices. Like you couldn't find a sustainable meal plan to go on a calorie deficit, now you have to take Retta. And I think the use of these peptides, even if there's no good way of knowing the risks that come along with them, comes from how today's society is structured and how the human mind works. We want results, and we want them fast, with as little effort as possible. Sustaining a calorie deficit for long enough to reach your desired weight is hard, but taking substances designed to curb hunger is easier. It is hard and time-consuming to rehabilitate an injury, but perhaps injecting a peptide will cut the time it needed to heal in half. It's very understandable that people are attracted to these things. It sounds like something out of a future utopian society novel, but the risks are what concerns me. And here's what nobody talks about when they are showing off their gains or rapid recovery supposedly from these peptides, because the actual risks are already happening. Just last month, Health Canada issued urgent warnings after receiving reports of some serious adverse reactions from injectable peptides purchased online. They documented cases of large hormone imbalances, blood clots, liver and kidney damage, and even tumor growth promotion. And those are just the cases that actually got reported to authorities. But you can just imagine how many people experiencing side effects who just quietly stop and never tell anyone. However, the issue of contamination is arguably much more terrifying. Recent testing found that about 8% of unregulated peptide products contain bacterial endotoxins. And we are not talking about some small impurities here, because bacterial endotoxins can cause septic shock, critical organ failure, and even death. Supposedly, between 12 and 58% of these supplements are contaminated with other unsafe substances entirely. Yes, that number is pretty darn wide, but it just shows you nobody really knows what's in these things. You could think that you're injecting BPC 157, but you're actually putting God knows what into your body from some lab operating without any regulations or oversight, even if you do third-party testing, because you can't even control for that. And even if the peptide itself is pure, users have reported side effects that directly contradict everything about the miracle healing narrative. Many things similar to anabolic steroids, like anxiety, panic attacks, heart palpitations, insomnia, depression, anhedonia, joint pain, and chronic fatigue. And these aren't just theoretical risks from studies, these are real people reporting real problems online after taking BPC 157 and other peptides. Dr. Timothy Caulfield, who researches health misinformation, warns that manufacturers of these peptides operate largely without any regulation, meaning they might not be produced in sterile conditions. Another expert studying this peptide craze said that people using these substances are essentially lab rats conducting experiments on themselves. And another warned that we could be facing a future public health crisis of mystery chronic ailments caused by unregulated peptide use that conventional medicine isn't prepared to address. The big irony here is that the same people promoting biohacking and health optimization are actually just gambling with their health, especially in communities like looksmaxing, where teens are getting their hands on these research chemicals because a guy with a square jawline told them to. It's not optimal when you don't know what you're putting into your own body, what dose is safe, or what the long-term consequences will even be. Yes, peptides might work well for some things. We might discover in 10 years that certain peptides at certain dosages in controlled medical settings can genuinely help with specific conditions. But right now, it's not this biohacking lifesaver, and it's not optimizing your health. People are taking untested drugs from unregulated sources based on TikTok anecdotes and just hoping for the best. And if that sounds harsh to some of you, good, because the alternative could be dealing with sepsis from a contaminated injection, or discovering 5 years in the future that the peptide you took to heal your shoulder is now causing you to grow tumors. Your body just isn't a playground for internet experiments, and you should treat it with more respect than that. But what do you guys think? Do you think peptides are going to be something of the future as new research starts emerging on proper use, or do you think it's just another trend blown out of proportion from people who just want to look better than anything else? Let me know down below in the comments what you guys think, and let's be nuanced. I want to see both positive and negative sides to the argument, because I also think that excessive skepticism can be just as bad as not having any at all.
Ooh la la.
Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.